What's up everybody, BigSweetC here with got a special little video for you. Today I want to talk about a new game that was released pretty recently, April Fool's Day to be exact. It's called Outriders. It is a cooperative role-playing third-person video game developed by People Can Fly, published by Square Enix Euro, I think is what they call it. It's the European division. Published by Square Enix. It was released on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and even probably on its way out the door, Google Stadia. Although I do hear Microsoft might be in the works of buying yet another property. And so maybe Google Stadia is going to be around for a little bit longer than a lot of us anticipated. Another video I had mentioned that I didn't think the Stadia was a good idea. And, well, that didn't... I might have been right on that one, but another video, another time. We're talking Outriders. So if you haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, it is free on Game Pass. So I was able to jump right in, and it's been pretty wild so far. So if you don't know, People Can Fly, the people that developed this game, had also teamed up with Microsoft to create Gears of War and Gears of War Judgment. I don't think they had anything else to do with the Gears of War games after that, but they definitely developed those two for Microsoft, which was then released on like the Xbox and Microsoft Store and all that stuff. So they're a pretty familiar yet unknown game developer out of Poland, I believe is where they're from. But it also you can kind of tell where the game was going in this. Outriders is very much like Gears of War. It's a third-person shooter mixed with elements from different role-playing games. In the beginning, the players create their own custom characters. They choose from one of 4 classes, each of which that have unique abilities that players can utilize. There's the Trickster, which manipulates time, the Pyromancer, which manipulates fire, the Devastator, which releases the seismic attacks, and then the Technomancer, which uses turrets and like gadgets to their best of their abilities. We went with the Devastator in my initial playthrough. I have started a Technomancer, but I haven't gotten anywhere on it, so I don't quite know about any of the other groups. But the Devastator is a pretty fun one to use. It uses the seismic attacks, meaning like a bunch of earth. So there's a bunch of ground shaking. I can use one ability where I actually like create a spike of stone into the earth, and I like stab people with it. And then I also I can create like a golem-like state where I can protect myself, or I have this like shield where it'll reflect the bullets and everything that people are shooting at me. And it's been pretty fun so far. So the guns involved are your typical MMORPG guns like you have in Destiny or The Division, done by Tom Clancy. You got your assault rifles, your shotguns, your sniper rifles, your light machine guns, that kind of thing. They upgrade as you go along. You can the cool thing about this though is with Destiny you basically just have the light power. This one you can actually level up, but you can also change the mods on it. You can alter you can switch out its rarity. I haven't gotten quite into that yet, but what I feel like it is I can make like a blue color into a purple, so I can make them like more important, if that makes any sense. But it does seem to have a little bit more flexibility with the weapons and the upgrading of the weapon, and then along with your abilities, the characters themselves have a pretty intensive skill tree. So again, it seems like you've got much more customization in character than any of the other previous games that I've played, like Destiny, The Division, or even Gears of War for that matter. There does seem to be a lot of replay value and difference in switching up in style plays. So like the Devastator, there's like 3 major characters, the Warden and the Vanquisher are kind of what I'm focusing on, but there's also a third one, so if I wanted to, I could kind of redevelop the guy and make him more spells oriented, your ability oriented, whereas right now I have him more kind of physical weapons and tank like status. So it does seem to have a lot of replay in that aspect. you can have up to, I think, 6 or 7 different characters as well in the game. So there's a lot of chance to get not only the 4 base characters down, but try some specialty members and the characters that you do like as well. The story seems pretty sweet. It's set during the middle of the 21st century. Earth has passed the point of no return as climate disasters grow more frequent and dangerous, surpassing humanity's ability to mitigate them. The major governments of Earth have then combined their resources under the newly formed Enoch Colonization Authority in a last-ditch effort to preserve humanity on Enoch, a distant Earth-like planet. So that's how the game starts. You come up and you're this, what looks like an astronaut. You're called an Outrider, but you're like an astronaut who's about to settle this planet Enoch. And when you first land on it, it seems fantastic and perfect, and then you shortly find out that it might not be the case. But there was actually originally 2 massive colony ships, the Caravel and the Flores. You come on the Flores. They're both built to hold 500,000 colonists, but the Caravel is allegedly blown up in the middle of construction, and the Flores is the only one that we actually see land in Enoch's orbit 83 years after you take the journey. Again, once you do land, the team of elite soldiers are tasked, the Outriders. You're tasked with scouting the landing zone and paving the way for colonists. However, the Outriders quickly discover the anomaly, a massive and deadly energy storm. The Outriders attempt to warn the ECA to abort the colonization, but the ECA leadership instead send their own security forces to silence the Outriders by purging them. One of the Outriders, having survived exposure to the anomaly, is mortally wounded during the fight and is put into cryostasis by Shira, an ECA scientist, for a later coup. So what happens is you find this anomaly and you go back to everybody, led by Shira, the head scientist of the ECA, and you try and warn her that, hey, this isn't going to be a good place to colonize, so make sure you don't have any of those people that are up there that aren't prepared for this come down. Well, it turns out that, like most ECA corporations, they had a mind of their own. They sent down their own army of mercenaries to wipe out anyone who doesn't stick to the plan, so to speak. And during this kind of struggle, you're actually hit by the anomaly, and that's what gives you your special power. Allows you to choose between one of them 4 character classes. I haven't completed the story yet, but it does, from what I understand, actually get pretty intense. And unlike Destiny or The Division, they've already announced that People Can Fly has already announced that there's going to be a beginning and an end. So it's not going to be kind of one of them open worlds. I wouldn't doubt if they come out with some like DLC, depending on how well this sells. But it does seem to have a finite number to it, unlike Destiny, where it keeps getting updated through season passes and yearly updates and DLC and whatnot. So I'll be interested to see where it goes from here. Now, normally this is the part where I would tell you it's just like The Division 2 and Gears of War to the most extent, where you kind of play a lot and it gets repetitive pretty quickly. So I could only play the Gears of War games for a few hours at a time, if that, like a couple hours at a time, before I kind of started getting bored with it, and then I had to just kind of take a break and then come back to it later. Now, luckily, those games aren't super long, so it was a game that, was fairly easy to do that, where I wasn't playing for an hour or two for, 6 months straight. But this one seems to be a little bit more detailed. And I haven't quite come across that yet. So there have been those moments where, and I argue about this in almost every video that I talk about, but I don't understand why these games have to have these enemies that they're almost so annoying that they're not even worth fighting. They just have this ridiculously large attack radius. They're super fast. They're super strong. They stagger you when they hit you, and all this yada yada. And you can't do this when you're in the middle of their their mind triggery blah blah blah. They just have these like unreal monsters that again, in a swarm game, the game's already difficult enough, and you can increase difficulty as you level up the game. So, you know, you don't have to have these swarms of enemies and then these giant impossible creatures to destroy to consider yourself like a difficulty setting. But you know, same complaint in all these games. None of them have fixed them. So maybe I'm the only one that that seems to be irked by this at times. But you know, unlike the Division, there's the human teams that you fight, and then there's actually the you know, the actual creatures that you find on planet Enoch. So there's a little bit more variety there. And like I said, they have announced that it's going to be a start and finish game. So I'm kind of curious if we do get anything different, or if it's supposed to be more of just like a narrative story. And what I mean by different is, you know, Destiny, what allows a lot of people to keep the grind going is you get your choice. You can play Strikes, you can play Gambit, you can play Crucible, you can do the Raid if you want. So there's, you know, a multitude of different things to do in the game. Whereas this one pretty much has been, go to this place, find this item. Go to this place, clear out these enemies. Go to this place, hunt this animal, that kind of thing. And while I haven't gotten completely bored with it, a lot of that I think is because I get to play with my wife, and it's always fun to play with somebody else. So I'm not quite sure how long it'll keep the new car smell going for. It is the one thing that I think I'm kind of more concerned about than anything. But it does seem like they like the team, the People Can Fly team, seem to be pretty gung-ho about their game. At least on Twitter, they're out there all the time. They've been having some server issues with the cross-play that I've been aware of. Luckily, I haven't seen too much of it. There have been a few times when I've gotten kicked out of the game because, for whatever reason, it just crashed on me. But the game's only been out for like a week, so you know, you guys gave everybody gave Cyberpunk like 6 months, so so we'll see. We'll see how it goes from here. But so far so good. It's been really fun. Again, it's free if you are a Game Pass subscriber. So I highly recommend checking it out. I've had a lot of fun playing it, and I look forward to getting into it a little bit more as we go along. It might be one of the games that we add to the streams, so I'm going to try and focus on the multiplayer open world universe games, like Destiny, like this Outriders. Maybe we'll get to the Division if any of you guys comment on the old channel here and say, oh yeah, I have the Division, we can play that for sure, because that's another game. If I'm stuck playing it by myself, I'm probably not going to play it for very long. And that is my one big worry about this, but at least I have my wife to play with me on this one, so hopefully we just don't get to the end and it's, you know, not worth replaying. Knock on wood. It's a good one. It's been so fantastic so far, and I think you guys should check it out. But before I go crazy into the rambling here, we're gonna wrap this one up. I want to thank you guys so much for coming by. If you have done so, you made it this far, do me that favor, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of Outriders. Are you worried that it's gonna get boring fast? What character is your favorite? Who did you choose with? And what kind of build are you going for? If I get enough comments below, if you guys want to know how I roll out the Devastator, and right now I have a Devastator and a Technomancer. I'll work on those two first, and if you guys are interested, I'll show you guys the build that I end up going with on both of them. And then if you want more, maybe we'll throw in the Pyromancer and the Trickster after that. If you didn't like Outriders, also hit that comment section below. Let me know what you didn't like about it. Outside of the servers, I get it. The servers are an issue. But if there's generally something that you didn't like about the game, it did get boring for you, or the guns suck, or the modification process is not any good, let me know, because I'm generally interested in those things, and we'll keep talking about it. Either way, if you want more, head on over to Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. You can find me over there at BigSweetC. But that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me wishing YouTube, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.